This is about transgender athletes and well, we say in rugby and football, Gaelic football, that we've covered in the last few weeks here, or last few shows. Megan Rapinoe, of course, very outspoken, the American football superstar. She has been very, very, I would say, fair about it. She's been kind of misrepresented. I'm not a huge fan of hers for some of the things she comes out with, because she'll tell one thing and then contradict herself, and then if you pull her up on it, then she'll just shout even louder. But at the same time, on this, she's got something to say. And her exact statement is, I'm 100% supportive of trans inclusion. People do not know very much about it. We're missing almost everything. Frankly, I think a lot of people, what a lot of people know is versions of the right's talking points, because they're very loud, they're very consistent, and they're relentless. Now, what she was saying was that at the highest level, collegiate sports, there's regulation, Olympic and professional level, there's regulation, which said where the problems come in, it's lower down in amateur sport. Now, we spoke about that last week, where there was a case about the Italian Giulia Valentino, who was playing junior Gaelic football, ladies Gaelic football in Ireland, and was an uproar over it, and the IRFU then banned transgender athletes, transgender women, from competing in women's rugby. Brian, is this something we're going to have to deal with? And I mean, does Megan have a point that it's actually lower down where it needs to be regulated even further?
Yeah, I would say so, because, like it or not, there could be some serious injuries for a start. In the difference in, like the case you highlighted earlier, there wasn't serious injury, but it was evident that the physique was vastly different. There could be that, with obviously the necessary understanding, etc., because it is a very delicate topic. I mean, there also has to be, blimey, I mean, there's a challenge there also for acceptance, isn't there? I mean, lower down, because there's less oversight and remarks could be made or whatever it is on the other side of things. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think in the ultra physical sports, it's a big problem. I don't think Isil would know, but I don't know if that's happened in boxing at all. But I know in weightlifting, obviously it did, because at the Olympics last year, there was the Kiwi who competed. I just think, yes, I mean, Rapinoe's got a point, definitely, because maybe from that, smallish area, A, understanding can grow, and B, maybe lots of other things can be learned as well about the physical aspect, between, a tackle or whatever, or I think there's two things there, to be honest, because it's quite, it's an emotive subject, and sometimes, as she said, I think, people do sort of spark off about it without a huge amount of knowledge. I mean, it takes a lot of educating too.
This is it, and I mean, our video from last week we put up, the clip it's good. Well, a lot of people comment on this, like it's most commented on video that we've done. And I was surprised, and it was because a lot of people picked up on it and said that we were very, very fair in our discussion. We and the duty of care has to be in general. It can't be just, let's protect the girls.
No, of course.
It's also protecting the physical and mental health of the people who are transgender as well, because again, people go, we do know that there are greater difficulties at for example, the rate of suicide amongst people who are transgender is quite high. So we have to look after that as well. So the decision taken by the IRFU, that kind of plays into what Megan's speaking about. It's at the highest level, but now it's gone all the way down to club rugby as well.
Yeah, so I suppose even this week we've had some of the teams in Ireland have come out and been quite vocal in their complaints about it, in the sense that they feel that straight away we're pushing against inclusivity, which I understand exactly where Megan's coming from and saying, we know so much at the highest levels of elite sport, but what we're doing once we start to have blanket bans on the lower levels is we breed a culture of never having inclusivity at any level. But And this is, I suppose, where I think there has to be a distinction drawn. The IRFU have also cited repeatedly that they are going on what's based on the best available scientific advice to them, etc. It is also a contact sport. And I think there is always going to be that difference. And we need to look at, if we say, let's say you're playing at the elite games, at elite level, you have elite support services there. So if you start going down through the ranks, at what stage do you get concerned about the fact that inclusivity, for the optics of inclusivity, can lead to risk? As Pirate said, you don't know what unnecessary risks you may be exposing someone to. Now, then again, by the same token, you can say, oh, you might have a much larger cis woman participating in sport, and she may cause injury to a scrum half who is by their physical nature smaller. But it's more so about, we need to look at how policies aren't designed to exclude, but they're including while being safe for the existing participants. When it comes to boxing, Pirate having mentioned it, I do know that there's some very well-known female boxers, so the likes of Savannah Marshall, who spars with men. Now, she's also coached by Gypsy John Fury, so, sparring with men doesn't seem like the strangest thing to have on in that camp. But she spars with men, but she's not fighting them. She's sparring with headgear on. It's part of her training. She also spars with women. And the difference is, if you had a heavyweight woman in a ring with a heavyweight man, there's only one result there. No matter what you do, short of giving them a knife, it's only going one way. And I think we need to, as viewers of sport, people love, like, the whole point of viewers of sport is you love participation, but participation can't just have no consequences if there are risks to the participants. You just need to look at it sport by sport, case by case, in terms of elite and amateur level. Maybe you might have different policies, but everything needs to be looked at, and the onus now is on every sport, be it contact sports, non-contact sports, to have a policy. There's no excuse not to.
I'll add on that in terms of having a policy, even though in Russia, for example, it's not recognized as an issue, not accepted. It's just not recognized. It's not an issue. However, I do know that in ice hockey, there already have been discussions about, as we said last week, sort of an other or a separate kind of division or league, because they said they've had these issues, and also that in Sweden the discussion has been there about how to make this category, because again, there's trans players who want to play ice hockey but they can't play with women. They don't want to play with men, so it's kind of trying to balance it out. Quick question for both of you before we go away from this. I'll just stick with you on this and then ask Pirate. In terms of the women, I mean, you're a woman, I know, so that's why I'm asking you first on this. What would be the view of women? Because what I've always said is, why are women not asked if they want to vote on it or take a decision? Because ultimately it's their sport.
I think the strange thing is, I know I differ, my views differ to a good few of my own friends. I think there is a fear that if you are a cis woman, obviously there are some athletes, Sharon Davies, etc., who are very vocal, but if you have a view that isn't inclusive, you will be viewed as being almost detracting from, or you're anti-trans, and then the pylons start online, as we've all seen. So there's almost a sense of cis women not giving a view either way, for fear of the consequences of having a view that isn't necessarily found to be on point. You see what Megan has done. It's great for Megan to be able to have a platform to say this, but she has strong views on a lot of things, and she's very vocal in them, and she's not risking a pylon in the way that some women saying, actually, I'd prefer to not have a trans man coming up against a trans woman now coming up against me on a football field, for example. Straight away you're piled on, and that's the concern. I think that your views aren't as valid because you are a cis woman, and it's a tough one. It's catch-22 at this stage.
Now, again, I didn't want to put you into a situation. I just asked you to speak about it because it is the case that even... No,
I think it's the fear is that you will be labelled a TERF, essentially, no matter what if you express a negative view to inclusivity, you're obviously discriminating, as opposed to you might be thinking if this was me and I'm on that team, do I feel safe?
Listen, I got the same when I said that there should be no youth boxing under the age of 16. And the reason I gave was medical, based on medical. At 16, the skull is fully formed, the brain is ready to go. Don't have kids punched in the head from the age of 9 the whole way up. Because when I met a guy in Germany, and I was in ring across from him, and he told me he had 70 fights. He was only 19, and he had 70 fights already on his card. I was thinking that is just so unhealthy. And yet, when I said that, I was hammered. I was like, oh, like how dare you don't understand boxing? I'm like, okay. Part question to you as well. I mean, a lot of men have come in on this, and even I saw on the comments, they're thinking like, well, it's a man playing against women. That's very unfair. But do you think as well that if men speak out about it, for example, if they've daughters, if they've got wives, or speaking what they would see as common sense, is that not allowed in this case?
Oh, no, I think they are. I mean, I don't see why they shouldn't be allowed, because can't you have it the other way that some women transition into male, etc. So why can't the men also comment on that? Admittedly, there are less cases of it, but in sports anyway. But no, I think there has to be a debate that involves everybody. I mean, that's the very nature of inclusivity, isn't it, as well? That the debate has to be inclusive to have a genuine all-round feel to it. I know that these days that, well, as we all know, that you can say one comment and you're jumped on immediately because, oh, why are you saying that? Because, you've never done it, or you've not. But I mean, I don't think that's I think everyone's entitled, provided it's civilized, provided it's, well, sometimes educated. I don't see why men can't comment on it, because it's a very involving debate about sports. I mean, we haven't been stopped in the past and commenting on, I don't know, women's boxing or whatever, which is a very high level. But what I mean is, you can't stop people from having having a word to say about it. I don't think you can stop one sex from commenting about the other, if you see what I mean. I think also some of their comments might be extremely constructive. I hope, anyway. But no. So I would say an all-involving, all-inclusive debate, and a civilized one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, because you can be emotional, you can put your point forward. And I was just saying this to my son there on Friday about discussing things, and he would say, "Oh, these people are stuck in the Soviet mentality." And I'm going, "Yeah, but that's your point of view. But listen to their point of view. Just listen. You don't have to force it down their throat." And I heard this goes back to Saudi Arabia, from a sheikh who used to he preach, I guess you could say, in Mecca on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "I am happy you believe as you believe." He said, "And I'll speak with you about it, and I'll speak about my beliefs." He said, "And you know what? We'll walk away as friends and say thank you very much." And I said, "Oh, okay, yeah, well, fair enough." And he said, "Because your beliefs stop at the end of my nose. But it goes behind my nose is my brain. You can't touch that." So in that case, yeah, I do think there has to be a discussion on that. And okay, what we're going to do is we do